Hi, guys. We're here today with Susan McCarthy. Actually, Susan Champion.
Yeah.
And like me, Susan, born and raised right here in Fernandina. We were both born up there at Humphreys Memorial Hospital on 14th Street.
Yep.
This is home.
That's right, it is.
Just never decided to leave. Just this is home. We're actually in Susan's shop. If you're into antiques, let me tell you something. You need to visit Trailer Park Collectibles. I promise you, when you get in here, prepare to stay because you're going to be in here for a while. Susan, let me ask you something. Growing up here in Fernandina, what are some of your fondest memories as a kid coming up? What were
Going to the recreation pool, walking all the way out there barefoot, staying all day long, coming home at night, we used to do stupid things like we'd lay in the middle of Atlantic Avenue and see how long you could lay there before a car came. It was like a dare. And then we would ride our bike either on Ash Street or Atlantic, which is now Center Street. You'd ride your bike as fast as you could because it was straight, and then you'd put your hands and feet out and coast all the way down to the docks.
Yeah.
And run behind a mosquito control truck.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was the biggie.
Yeah.
We haven't really, on all of these episodes we've done, we haven't really talked about the mosquito control truck. But
we did it for blocks.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing we're still alive.
It's amazing. There's no telling what we were breathing back then. But you couldn't see anything. You just were running behind this truck and all this fog that was coming out. I think the mosquitoes had it right. They just flew above the fog, and we were the ones that were
breathing it all in.
Oh,
yeah, it was fun.
But, it was everybody that I've interviewed, they all say the same thing. Of course, there wasn't many people here back then, but they all say the same thing. If you did something wrong, your mother knew about it before you got home.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. And that just amazed me.
When I was young, my parents separated. When I was, I guess I was in the third grade, and we lived right where the news leader was, next to Curly Gill, and the Gills right there.
Yep.
And if we could go anywhere we want. We could go to the beach, we could go to the docks. We could go play in the marsh as long as we came back and checked in.
Yeah.
Every few hours or so. Yeah. And if we didn't, Dad would send somebody, or he'd come looking for us. But most of the time, I was the good one, but he was the bad one.
Well, we were all the good ones. Nowadays, looking back, and I bet if you talk to Buddy, he'd tell you he was the good one.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, but no, it was amazing. And then as you grew older and got into high school, when did you get your first car?
I got my first car when I was in 11th grade, I think, maybe 10th.
And how did things change then?
Well, I think it was. I bought my first car, and I got my loan from People's Bank up in Kingsland because my parents were determined that if you're going to get a car, you're going to pay for it. You're going to start credit, have a loan payment, blah, 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 and all that. And when I got it, we lived on Highland Drive. And then my parents started to build a house in Nassauville. So my senior year, when we still had the drawbridge, my parents moved to Nassauville.
Oh, okay.
Which, I can't tell you how many times I was late because the bridge was up.
Yeah. now, people are late because of the traffic.
Right.
We were late because the bridge was up.
Right. Yeah. But I got a Toyota Corolla station wagon.
Wow.
Yeah. Red.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, you never forget that first car. I had a 53 Chevy 6-cylinder Power Glide.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, that was a hot car.
And you had to circle Main Beach and circle the docks and the Tasty Freeze.
Yeah. Freezette. Yep. Freezette.
Yeah.
That's where I met my wife. Was at the Freezette.
Yeah. And then you ride down to, what's the beach down there? On the south end. You'd go down to
American Beach?
Well, American Beach and Peters Point.
Peters Point. Yeah, it was, and folks, Peters Point then was nothing like it is today. It was just a dirt road. Yeah. And that was pretty much it. I mean, that was all it was.
And if you went down there, you would just open and pray and you'd get stuck.
Yep. Yeah.
Because there's nothing worse than getting stuck and having to call your parents.
Yeah. And then back then, and if you didn't call somebody, you were just liable to spend the night there till the next day.
Right.
That happened. That happened many times to friends of mine that didn't want to call their parents. And they thought, well, you know, they would take the chance of being out all night or waiting for someone to come get them rather than call and tell Daddy they got his car and it's stuck down at Peters Point.
Yeah.
But
you know what my first job was?
What?
Working at Steger's drugstore. Remember
really?
Steger's?
Yeah. Oh
my mom worked there, and they needed some help on Saturdays, and I would go down there, and next thing you know, they had me running the whole kitchenette because they figured out I could cook and I was good.
And that's what you
and I figured after a little while, I didn't want to do that no more because they was busy back then. That was a hopping place because you'd be cooking the food and serving the food and ringing them up.
And Wass's Drug, remember?
Remember the phone booth?
Oh yeah,
because we didn't have a phone. That was that's where we made our phone calls.
That was our mobile phone. You know, was a phone booth. So we would stop at a phone booth and put our dime in or nickel, whatever it was, and make a phone call.
Yeah, we call our grandparents.
Oh,
we used to when we go see my grandparents because they lived in Gainesville. We didn't have a car back then, and no phone, no car. You know, no air conditioning. How did we survive?
I don't know. You know.
But my parents would put me on during the summer. They'd put me on the city bus, which you call it downtown at Fire Station, now City Hall.
Yeah, City Hall. 204 Ash Street.
I would ride the city bus to the Greyhound station.
Yeah.
And then I'd get on Greyhound bus and go to Gainesville all by myself. No adults.
How old were you?
I was 7 years old. You know, I did it up until we finally got a car. But I was young because we didn't have a car. We didn't get a car till my parents divorced, or just before they got a divorce. But no, they put me on the bus, and sometimes the bus would be so full, it would be like standing room, and I'd sit on the steps. Right when you come in, I'd sit right there the whole ride. They wouldn't do that now.
Oh, no. Well, they wouldn't. I mean, if someone were to put a 7-year-old on a bus today, without an adult or unchaperoned, the parents would probably be in jail tomorrow morning.
Well, they all, you know, the bus drivers and everything, because I think it stopped in Stark, but, you know, for the pretty much, you just went straight there.
Yeah.
I think we stopped in Stark.
Yeah.
Maybe Waldo, too. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, it was, you know, times have really changed, you know, a lot. But Fernandina, did you ever dream, you know, Susan, did you ever dream that we would have this many people?
I used to think that it would be nice to have more people here, more business and all that. Now I'd like to see it slow down just a little bit. But yeah, I mean, in the 80s is when it really happened.
Yeah,
you know,
it did. I remember the Chamber of Commerce, and I remember the City Commission. My uncle, John Tiliakis, was on the City Commission, and Don Brown and Bino Roberts was on the, you know, the executive director of the Chamber. And my gosh, I mean, the money that was spent and the time and the effort just trying to get people to recognize us, you know, just, you know, Fernandina exists. Here we are. Come visit.
And it happened.
And it finally, one day it happened. And,
I know when we opened the Down Under in 1981, we were just, the Ritz-Carlton was in the talks. I mean, it wasn't open yet, but it was in the talks. And Plantation was the only really resort. You know, you had the tennis match, you know, the Bosch and Wam and all that kind of stuff. And it was only during the summer months. You know, we closed for the most part November, December, and January because there was nothing around, you know.
No business. Not enough people to keep it open.
Right.
You know, it's funny. Just the other day, I interviewed Wayne Saunders. And we were talking about the south end of the island and how, you know, it was just desolate. There was nothing there but just woods. And I asked him if he remembered Jack Woodward, you know, the Chevrolet dealer on 8th Street.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And he and my grandfather bought acreage out where the, where the Marriott is today.
Right.
And I think they paid something like $40-something an acre. And oh, my grandmother, I just remember her just, oh, you're a bunch of idiots. There's nothing out there but rattlesnakes and palmetto.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all are crazy. And, you know, and then it wasn't several years, and I remember they sold it for just under $100 an acre, and she was happy then because they almost doubled or they did double their money, and so that was a good day.
Most definitely.
But little did we know, but looking back, I mean, I guess even all my years in office as a county commissioner, I used to think, a community that's not growing is a community that's dying. And I remember in high school, we would skip school and go to 44th and Main in Jacksonville to buy McDonald's French fries.
And then go to Crystal's over there, too.
Had to go to Crystal's, And that was a biggie. But, it when I go through Fernandina today, and I go down 5th Street because it was funny. Susan and I were talking, but she was raised on 5th Street mostly, and I was raised on 5th Street. But I still ride through the old neighborhood about once a week or once every 10 days.
It's changing.
It's changing, but I don't see the change. I still see what I remember.
Right.
I mean, I still look and say, there used to be so-and-so there or such and such here. And I don't think those thoughts and those visual thoughts will ever leave us.
No. It's a beautiful place we live in.
It is.
It's a beautiful place.
It really is. It's it's paradise. And I know I've never had a desire. I've never even given thought to living somewhere else. Never. It's just, that's just never crossed my mind.
If I get grandkids,
Oh, you're gone?
For
a while, but you'll be back.
I'll always be home. Yeah. But you won't be with those grandkids. They need help. Yours live here, mine don't.
Well, that's true. They do. They do. But I know you've seen tourism. I know you've seen people that have moved here increase just by the foot traffic in your business over
since I've been doing this for 13 years, I bet you at least 30 times over the past 13 years I've been doing it. And that's probably a low side. People come in visiting, they buy a little trinket. Next thing you know, they come back. We bought a house. And I'm like, it's just crazy, to me that people just pack up and just, move here. I mean, that just tells you how beautiful the place is.
It's, they do. And I know people that have done that, and they love it here. And I mean, once they
from
get
all
here,
over the place. Not
from
just
everywhere.
Georgia, but from out west, up north, Canada.
Yeah. We're getting ready to do an episode. You talk about Georgia, about when the Georgia boys would come down every summer, And of course, someone asked me, they said, well, didn't the local boys resent that? And I said, no, because they brought sisters with them, and cousins. So it was always fun, a good time. But
now, do you remember when it was just Fernandina? So that was what, in the 40s?
Well, I was born in 47. And
because when did it? Because it used to be like Fernandina was here,
Fernandina,
and then
they
Beach.
incorporated, and it was Fernandina Beach. Right. And no, I guess I remember them talking about Fernandina.
Yeah.
We never really used the term Fernandina Beach. We always just said Fernandina.
Yeah, like nobody, when you were little, people said you live in people come in all the time and they say, we come to Amelia, but where's Fernandina? I'm like, this is Fernandina.
Yeah, this is.
If anybody told me when I was little that, you live in Amelia, I'd think, oh, you're talking about Amelia City. Yeah.
I interviewed Lowell Hall. And we were talking about that very same thing. I mean, we kind of looked at the island as kind of split in two. You had Amelia City, and then you had downtown.
Fernandina, you had Old Town.
Yeah. And that's the way it was.
Right.
But
it seems like I remember somebody explaining to me that Fernandina was here on this side of the island, and then it was Fernandina Beach at the beach. And I don't know if that's true or not, but.
No, I don't. I've never heard that.
No.
I mean, it could be, but I don't recall that. I know when the city, this was a city deal where they had like incorporated around, and they changed it to the city of Fernandina Beach. And I mean, that's what I remember, you know, and I don't know exactly when that happened. I guess we could go back and do some research and find out. I don't know when that happened, but you know, I look back and I think about the schools, and the classrooms were nowhere near as packed as they are today, you know. And it seems like every year, you know, we're needing more schools, more classrooms. I mean, that's just indicative of just how many people, you know, we're having moving into the area.
A small part of me like it to stay just a little simple, you know, not, you know.
There's a small part of me but I don't think either one of us are going to get that wish.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
I can remember when we were little, everything was downtown, you know. You know, the Kentucky Fried Chicken was down.
Yeah.
Remember, that was a big deal when we got Kentucky Fried Chicken.
It was.
You know, then we had our restaurants and stuff, and we'd go to Dixieland and get you an icy.
Yeah.
Or popcorn.
Oh, yeah.
Or whatever they had. I used to buy a little souvenir, you know, little dome-shaped glass thing. You shake it, you know, and it say Florida on it. Get that at Dixieland.
And the Coca-Cola Company.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the Bennett's.
By City Hall.
Yeah, that's the Bennett's, yeah.
And Mr. Peacock was the manager. And we would go down there, and, you know, for the longest time, we'd go down there and we'd end up with a thermometer of some kind, you know, if it was bent or something, you know, he'd give us a thermometer. And of course, we always picked up bottles. And your dad was in the grocery business.
Yeah. I got a couple Fernandina Coke bottles.
Oh, do you? And then right next door, not next door, but just in the next block was Food Fair. And oh my gosh, I don't know how many bottles, you know, we as kids would take the Food Fair at, what was it, 2 cents a bottle?
Something like that. I remember when it got up to like 5 cents, I thought.
Yeah, and we would sell our bottles, and we were rich for an afternoon.
When my dad worked there, he worked there from 57 until they closed the store, which I think is sometime in the 80s.
Yeah.
And my dad worked because he was like either the produce manager or the assistant manager. And he would have to work at night. You know, the truck would come in. And so my brother and I would go down there, and we'd take off our shoes and have our socks on, run real fast down the aisles, slide.
Yeah, they would wax the floor.
Wax the floors. Then you get on the little belt that brings the groceries down. You know, you'd ride down it. Go in the meat market in the back when they really had hunks of meat back there.
Yep.
You know,
we didn't have much, but we enjoyed everything we had.
Yeah, we did.
We did. And I remember the ice truck and the ice plant, and the ice truck would go to the ice dock, and it would shoot the ice out. And as the ice would come out, it would, of course, one block would hit the next block, and a piece, you know, pieces would fall off. And we couldn't wait for that, you know, because we had ice to eat all day long.
I know. We didn't always have it.
Oh, no. And, you know, we just, but we enjoyed life. We enjoyed growing up here.
I can remember when I was little, they opened, it was some kind of dollar store where Robinson's was.
Oh, yeah.
I don't what it was called. Dollar.
It was,
something.
Wait a minute. It was,
Pixie.
Family Dollar.
Family Dollar.
Yes.
Not associated with.
No.
And it was right there where Robinson's was.
Right.
And my dad, like I said, my parents had divorced. My dad was taking us to go buy school clothes. And they came out with culottes.
Oh. Yeah.
And I had never had culottes before. I got 3 pairs. They were like $3 a piece or something. I thought it was something. I was hot.
But that was
culottes.
$3 back then was $3.
Yeah, it was. Because my dad couldn't afford to go to Mary Kay's, because Mary Kay's was expensive.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit more expensive than what he could afford. So that was fun.
Well, you know, I mean, I tell, you know, Jamie and I were talking here the other day, my son, and I told him, I said, you know, when your mom and I got married in 1967, I was working for myself, family business, building shrimp boats, making $2 an hour when the weather was good.
That's right.
And, you know, a good day was $16. And he just, you know, he looked at me and he says, how did you make it?
Things just.
And I said, well, our rent was $35 a month, and that included utilities.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean,
miss those days.
Oh gosh, yeah. But you know, I don't. I guess everything's relevant, but I don't know that I believe all of that. But times just change, you know, and I guess you know we have to change with the times.
Yeah. I can remember going down to the. I'm sure everybody talks about this. Going down to the welcome station and getting all the orange juice you could drink until the lake ran you out.
Rosa Adams, you remember her?
Yes, I do.
Miss Rosa. Yeah.
And she's like, "Okay, no more orange juice."
And
after
Susan,
a while, it wasn't that good orange juice.
Well, I think we had so much of it.
Yeah.
But do you remember the ramp that went down at the city dock?
Oh yeah.
And that was the Dungeness. My grandfather actually built the Dungeness. It was a round bottom boat, and it would make trips back and two. And the reason it had the ramp, it was to either put a vehicle on the back of the boat or to load stuff on the boat, make it easier.
Yeah.
And this was for, you know, any tide, high or low, it could get down there. But I remember a bunch of boys used to ride their bicycles and see if they could stop. And I don't know how many bicycles are at the bottom of that dock, you know, but there were a lot of bicycles that went overboard. And then they would take a small rope with a hook on it and try to hook their bicycles. I remember, I forget who it was now, but he brought up 2 bicycles that were not his. And but he took them to Mr. Saylor. You remember Mr. Saylor worked on bicycles up on, you know, where the Green Turtle is? Just this side of the Green Turtle. Took them to Mr. Saylor and got them fixed up. And so he had 2 new bicycles. His was still in the river, but he had somebody else's bicycle.
I remember Miss Lucy would come off of the Dungeness in her wagon.
Lucy
She'd go down to the grocery store and get her groceries. Her and her donkey, or Nate. I think Nate was the guy that was with her.
You know, the very first episode that I did for Amelia Island Footprints was Arthur the Oxman. Remember?
Oh, I do. Yeah.
And gosh, the feedback that I got on that from people from all over that saw it, and they had no idea that Arthur even existed. You know, and then feedback from people like us who grew up here. Oh my God, I'd forgotten about him. You know. So.
I was probably too young to actually remember seeing him, but I remember the stories and I remember seeing pictures.
He was a great guy. I mean, he had good stories. He was very likable. I mean, there was nothing scary about him. And his oxen died in either 67 or 68. But I was married, and I had a friend of mine call me and said they needed some help, that Arthur's oxen had died. They had a backhoe, and they, you know, to bury the oxen at his place up.
He was all over town.
He went everywhere with that oxen. And but just those were the kind of things that you just, you know, you can't duplicate.
You remember Mr. Woodman from the old drugstore on the corner of 3rd? Lockwood. You remember going in there and getting a soda from him, and he'd make it syrup and put the soda in there, and he'd walk out there, you know, take him a while to get there. He had the best Cokes.
Vanilla Cokes, cherry Cokes.
I mean, you can get it at Gene's, but he made it from scratch.
From scratch. And had the carbonated water and the syrup and then the flavor. And I mean, it was.
Whenever we opened the Golden Grouper, we bought the back.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that came from there.
He, Mr. Lockwood, he was quite a guy. I've got a photograph of him in that store. You know what? I'll post it on this series, so you know people can see the inside of that store. But he was
a beautiful store.
Oh my gosh, he was.
The floors creaked.
Oh yeah, and I haven't been in there in a while, but you know, you mentioned jeans, and it's funny. I tell people all the time that anything you wanted, you could buy in jeans.
Oh yeah, anything.
It didn't
sundries, oil,
bicycle,
anything.
You name it, Jean had it.
That's right.
Yeah, him and Myra, they were, they just, whatever you wanted, they had in that store. And it was funny. And, you know, Hardy Brothers was the same
I
way.
loved Hardy
Oh,
Brothers.
me too.
I love Hardy Brothers.
I went upstairs one day with Mr. Gass. We were looking for something, and I went upstairs with him, and he had two huge barrels. And I looked at the barrels, and I went over to them, and they were bear traps, huge bear traps.
Wow.
I said, Mr. Gass, these are, and he stopped me. He said, yeah, they're bear traps. And I said, well, what are you going to do with them? He said, I'm just going to wait and see if we have a rush of bears. So I don't know whatever happened to those two big barrels of bear traps.
I always loved to go to Hardy Brothers. I'd like to go over on the side where all the dishes and all the home stuff
appliances. Yeah, because there were a lot of them. And, but you know, it was anything you wanted, and they were there to help. And you know, it's I'm glad we have Lowe's and Home Depot, but it was nothing like Hardy Brothers.
After I left Steger's, I didn't do it very long, but I worked at Allen's department store.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I worked there for like 2 years. I think I made $2.25 an hour. Yeah. And you're either in the ladies department.
Yeah.
Miss Allen was always in that little crate, you know.
Yeah.
You know, the little cage up there. Or the material department.
Yeah.
And I remember I used to do the inventory every January, and they would send me up to the attic or the second floor, and that's where they had the extra stuff. And they had big, huge boxes. I remember one time I was up there and I was trying to get in there to get something out, fell right in. I mean, these boxes were huge, you know, and so to dig myself out of it. But there was all kinds of, they had all kinds of stuff up there. And actually, my front counter up front that my register is on is a table from Allen's department store.
Really?
I bought it from Barbara Burton at a yard sale.
I'll be doggone. Yeah, I remember the shoe side when you walked in. It was all the way over on the left, and they had that ladder that
ran up and down.
Up and down.
Right. Yeah.
And we would go in there once a year or twice a year to get a pair of shoes and a couple pair of shoes or whatever, you know, and some jeans and, you know, school clothes.
Right.
You know, that was pretty much it.
Yeah, they had the phone on the pole.
Yeah.
The phone's on the pole, and if it rang, you had to go answer. And I remember one time I had to call somebody, and Mr. Allen walked by me like, it was either Andy, I think it was the older Mr. Allen. He walked by me like, gave me the look like, get off the phone.
Oh, well, back then in those days, I mean, that wasn't.
I remember when we got our first phone, and we lived still on 6th Street, right there on the corner. And I can't remember. I was probably, I don't know, could have been like the middle 60s or so, 68. And they still had party lines and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And then my brother, because he was bad, would get on the phone and call, call the operator, whether and ask for, whatever in the can or da-da-da, and just be bad.
Yeah, Prince Albert in the can.
And the operator, she goes, I'm turning your phone off. And I remember, oh my God, he's going to get killed. She left it off for like 2 or 3 hours and then turned it back on.
And all the operators, they operated out where David's restaurant is now.
I know. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I could lay in my bedroom window, which was on Ash Street, and you could look down and see that building, and then you could see the red light that was there. Remember, there used to be a red light.
Yeah, there was a red light there. Oh. Yep. I'll be doggone. Here again, just memories.
Yeah.
Gosh, Susan, so many memories. So many memories.
Yeah. We used to play in our old house right next to where the Bailey house is. The Pacellis or Pachulis, I can't remember what, the Palettis.
The Palettis.
Yeah, the Palettis.
Yeah, the Palettis.
They lived in the Bailey house, and then there was a lot. I can't remember if it was a lot or it was a lot between that house and the and it was a kind of house that was a house here, and then it had a breezeway, and then there was some stairs that went up. I don't know if you remember the house there or not.
A house that was unpainted.
Yeah, it was unpainted,
yeah,
and I don't remember anybody living there.
No,
really.
It was vacant.
But I saw a ghost there.
Oh, did you?
Yes, I did.
Wow.
Yes, I saw a shadow of something coming down the stairs. I never went back in that house again.
You remember going to the Pogey plant? On the right was a house.
Yeah, we used to have initiations out there.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't know who owned that house, but oh my gosh, there was you just didn't go to that house because it was haunted.
Yeah, they did a lot of stuff out there.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
Well, Susan, I certainly appreciate you taking the time today. As we've been sitting here, customers have been walking by, and I know you're itching to get up and go talk to them. Yeah. That's just your DNA to do it.
13 years now.
13 years. But I hope we sparked some memories for some of you old timers, and I hope some of you new guys that are just moved here. I hope we've given you some things to listen to and think about and say, wow, I didn't know that. Or, gee, Willikers, come here and listen to this, But that's what the whole thing about Amelia Island Footprints is all about. Susan, thank you again so very much.
You're welcome.
I do appreciate it.
It was fun.
I do appreciate it.
You promise you're going to make me look skinny now?
Yes, ma'am. We have the skinny thing on, and both of us are going to look real skinny. Oh, yeah. So, folks, put your skinny eye on because I promise we're going to look skinny. So we're doing that. So anyway, we got some more interviews coming up next week. Hope you'll stay tuned for those. Until then, God bless.